I know there's no such a person as Dracula. You know there's no such a person as Dracula. But does Dracula know it?
Maybe you can hum the theme song. Won't hold it against you if you get parts wrong. While the memory's not too strong, there's a piece of you from a time long gone. So while these fuzzy warm feelings remain, the question we ask is still the same. Is it a treasure or just plain lame? Is this still good?
Hello, and welcome back to Is This Still Good, a podcast about removing nostalgia goggles, dusting off childhood treasures, and just doing a bunch of comical pratfalls along the way. I'm Sage.
I'm Gavin.
Oh, I made Gavin laugh. We're off to a good start. Hey, Gavin, I got a question for you.
Shoot.
What do you think about overweight people falling down? Is that funny? Is that inherently funny?
I feel like you're trying to get me in trouble on this podcast, like immediately. I don't know how to feel about this.
Okay, well, let me try something else. What about if fat man no understand word that thin man use and humor derived from that?
Are you just referring to classic comedy?
How do you feel about Abbott and Costello?
Yeah.
Because that's what we're talking about today. 1948's Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. You've heard a few voices from someone I haven't introduced yet, so I just want to remind everyone that February is Dad History Month. I feel so bad.
I don't think that's accurate.
I don't think that's a thing.
And here's my dad, Dan Bilderback. Hi, Dad.
Hey, Dan, thanks for coming on.
Hello, audience.
To really put you on the spot, do you think there should be a Dad History Month?
Dad History Month? Well, I'm not sure about a whole month dedicated to that. Can't hardly get through a day on it, so.
I'm not even sure off the top of my head when Father's Day is. I know it's in June. I know it's close to my birthday.
It's
one
my
of the
dad's
ones that
birthday. That's why I get confused too. Yeah.
It's one of the ones that moves around. Like it's on a day of the week, right? It's not like every.
I'm pretty sure the government's just pranking you.
You don't even know.
I'm lucky to remember Christmas. No, birthdays have never been a big thing around here.
Around here being Alaska?
No, the family.
Oh.
Being the specific house in Alaska, you are.
Yeah.
Well, Dad, I wanted to bring you on for this one because I've got strong memories of watching a bunch of this nonsense growing up. Abbott and Costello, Laurel and Hardy, a third thing that's not jumping into my brain right now.
Three Stooges, Marx Brothers.
Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin was a little more sophisticated one on it.
Yeah.
Same theme.
We have floated doing, what is it, Robin and the Seven Hoods?
Mm-hmm.
That's one of them, right? Or is that Rat Pack? Well, it's got one of them. Does it not have both of them?
I think it does, actually. I think you're right.
Okay. I mean, all of those would have been improved by Sammy Davis. This movie could have been improved by having Sammy Davis Jr. in it.
As the world's shortest Frankenstein?
Yeah.
Frank and Sammy. One thing I never really considered, I watched these with you on like a very tiny TV, possibly on the boat, but more likely in the living room on VHS. And one question I've never really asked you is, how do you watch movies before me?
How do I watch movies before you?
Okay, so it's already... I grew up in a time where video rental services existed. And even like past the time where they were astronomically expensive. I just watched a movie that took place in the 80s, and there's whole plot points about how it cost them like $80 to buy a VHS. But you jump forward to the early 90s when I'm watching this stuff, and these are available for cheap rentals and even to buy cheaply. Now, if you go back to when you were born, which is before Alaska was a state.
Yeah, quite a little bit before.
It was already hard enough for me to absorb like modern media in the 90s. What was that like much earlier than that? Take me back. Take me back in time.
Laserdisc, right?
Born in 53 and started watching movies probably in right around 1960.
So that's when Laserdisc came out, right?
Yeah, that's pretty close to it. And
No, it's not even
I
remotely
still
close.
remember going to double feature Saturday matinees for 25 cents. I don't know how much that would be right now, but it can't be more than $2 in today's
Wow.
money. But yeah, for 25 cents, double features, and then they had a trailer.
Well, that already
ongoing
sounds like
trailers,
it's 5 Nickelodeons.
5 Nickelodeons.
Yeah.
The math works out. You're right.
In Cordova, the town that we're from, is this where you're watching it? Because there wasn't a theater there when I grew up.
Yeah, it was the North Star Theater that burnt down years before you were born. Yeah. Well, it was a rat trap ready to go. It was also apartment buildings and stuff in the same complex. There's a lot of the biggest theaters in the state of Alaska because Cordova used to be one of the biggest towns in the state of Alaska. Anchorage was
Impossible.
a tent town.
I reject that.
It had 2 daily newspapers and like 10,000 people in the area.
Was this like 16 millimeter or 35 millimeter projector?
16.
Projection?
Yeah.
Okay, right on.
Sorry, this is all wild.
And I don't know.
I had no idea we had a theater.
It should be past the statute of limitations, but my father had the mail run with the boat, and he would run the U.S. Postal Mail, and we would get the movies that's how you got the movies to the theaters, is through the Postal Service. So
I don't think they could prosecute Grandpa now.
Before the movie got to the movie theater, we'd usually run it off in the house. And since they only had one reel, it would all go onto the floor, onto a sheet, put a sheet down on the ground, and we run this whole thing off on
just collect it back up.
Yeah, I can't believe that. But yeah, we used to watch a lot of first run movies, so we'd pull all the shades on the curtains.
You would get the movie that's actually supposed to go to the theater, and then you would just watch it in a dimly lit room.
We watch it the night before we got to the movie theater.
Oh, you would do this in the theater?
Mm-hmm.
No.
No, in the house.
Okay.
Right up on the kitchen table. It's Grandpa, right?
Sure, yeah. Ain't no laws apply to Grandpa Bilderback.
Now, for the audience who doesn't quite know your grandpa, do you want to describe the man for a minute?
Yeah, ADHD.
He invented it.
He basically was one of the Alaska legends that when people were thinking about doing things like out in the woods and stuff, he just did them. He just couldn't sit still. So he's always out and involved. So was kind of known as one of the legendary type people around the town because he did so much and knew so much. So anyway, he had very poor impulse control.
Everybody in town knew Grandpa, which is not a thing that you could say about me, and honestly can't even say about you, Dad, compared to him.
Well, Ed's boy.
I always describe it with one of two stories. So Grandpa was, not just like generic outdoorsman legend, but specifically one of, if not the best bow hunters in the United States. Ted Nugent
Arguably.
Sought out my grandpa to take him hunting in Alaska specifically, and had a relationship with one side of the family, and even wrote an obituary for my grandpa. And that's great because everyone loves Ted Nugent and he's not problematic at all.
Yeah, right.
But the person who, if there was any sort of official ranking, the best bow hunter would be a famous outdoorsman named Fred Bear. And there's multiple interviews where Fred Bear will correct people and say, I'm not the best bow hunter. The best bow hunter is this crazy man in Alaska named Ed Bilderback.
Yeah.
Who apparently also used to steal movies and watch them first run to save a quarter?
Allegedly, yeah.
Allegedly, yeah. There's no way to prove it. There's probably not a way to prove that. Yeah.
I just love the idea that in doing this, you never picked up a take-up reel for the for the projector.
Does that seem crazy? You think you'd order something like that to keep the thing, keep the film in shape, because you had to line the film up when you run it back on, and
or you could If you want to do it really analog, you could just get like a magnifying glass and just study each frame individually as it goes across.
Favorite, that's like a really slow comic book, yeah.
That's what we did in film school before it all got too woke.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just remembering all the Ted Nugent stuff now, and I'm going to change my direction in life. What'd you think of the Super Bowl performance? All right, so you're Gavin, this is your opportunity to ask all the Alaska questions that I made fun of you for when you asked me. So.
I'm surprised, first off, that they did not replace the theater for you, Sage, once you burned it down. They just figured it wasn't worth building it up again.
Well, they didn't know that like their film legacy would get so high afterwards, that the cachet of Cordova, seen in such films as Man of Steel.
What was like the competition for Dan when you were growing up? It was, you had the movie theater to go to. Did you go often, or were you mostly out doing other things?
Yeah, it was the only thing, was the movie theater. A competition for your time, you mean?
Yeah.
It's the only indoor thing.
Well, let's see. I'm trying to think.
When it was a little cold outside, I'm assuming.
When I was about 12 or 14, a TV came to town. And I remember about 16 years old being over with a family with basically had one channel. Two channels. The day that two channels came in, all of a sudden everybody started arguing about what channel to be on. So there was like, and within 2 years, I think there was twice as many TVs in town. Everybody wanted a different channel. And that's only with two channels. You can't imagine now.
I think that might actually be one channel more than what I grew up with. So,
yeah,
when did Alaska? Well, Alaska Rural Communication Systems, the public one, just had the one broadcast channel that you could convince me was just like a pirate radio, because it was clearly just different channels on different days or at different parts of the day. So you could get, I've talked about this a lot on this show, but you would get
like
Saturday morning cartoons.
UPN.
And you get a specific news channel piped in from Anchorage. And then at a certain point, they were like, you could get 3 or 4 channels from Anchorage somehow. The fancier people would have big old satellite dishes. And anytime you're trying to catalog, anytime you're trying to identify the timing of any of these stories, you have to remember that until really recently, all technology, all culture, all fashion, anything that identifies a time in Alaska was 10 to 15 years behind the rest of the country. So even when Dad says, the town got its first TV in 1965, that is not when TVs became available in households in the United States.
Sure. And
that's true.
I mean, I'm still enamored with the family gathering around the projector as such a fun, like having to wait for like actually the place to be dark, like throw up curtains so you could get that projected image properly. Do you have like any other favorite movies that rolled through that you got to see first run?
Cowboy movies, the comedy movies, a lot of cowboys.
Were you a Universal horror fan at all?
No. I never enjoyed the scary movies. Couldn't see the draw of it, I mean, the idea that you're in control because it's scary and you can't get hurt, but you can be scared to learn. But nah, never was interested in that.
Fair enough. Who was your favorite comedy duo or comedian growing up that you were seeing in these pictures?
I don't know. They all seem pretty. Abbot and Costello, Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin was a big one. Laurel and Hardy, I don't remember them so much. But that was kind of like the Fat Man and the Thin Man too, wasn't it?
It was an archetype.
Yeah, you either get a fat man and a thin man, or an Italian and a Jewish comedian, right?
Yep.
The archetype of like the straight man and the funny man was so specifically shaped for so long that I wonder if straight man originally just referred to like just more line shaped and less round. I wonder if it was straight man and round man rather than straight man and funny man. Because it was so one of the more fascinating things about going back and watching this film. And I dabbled in a few other Abbot and Costellos, which I honestly found less good.
Well, they were practicing for the first 24. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe one step up from the Three Stooges. Now I think about the other ones.
Yeah.
I kind of remember Costello and Abbott and Lou Costello, as he treated, the thin one treated the fat one badly. I remember that, but I didn't
Still
remember
do.
quite. Yeah, I didn't remember quite how badly until watching it again the other day.
Yeah.
There sure is a cruelty in early slapstick physical comedy. I grew up very specifically. For me, the big two, I did watch this movie growing up and other Abbott and Costello stuff, but I was a big Marx Brothers and Three Stooges were like mostly what I was raised on. And specifically the Three Stooges is like all so cruel. It is
Yes, yeah, it is.
just the amount of like physical violence that not even discussions, just if an argument brought up, someone would get slapped, poked, and then hit over the back of the head, and then they would move on with the story.
It's funny. I wonder where that started, because like Charlie Chaplin, one of the real early ones, even before talkie pictures, that was a comedian. That was funny, but that was like a timing thing, He usually slid right in front of something.
It kind of answers your own question, which is just like early silent film had to rely solely on physical comedy.
Sure.
And
That's
then,
true.
Coming after that, and Stooges would bridge that gap somewhat. Marx Brothers were more like comedy based on talking, although they certainly had a lot of physical comedy.
Well, Harpo didn't talk too much,
Stooges is very physical comedy. Abbott and Costello is not without physical comedy, but they certainly came from radio. They were a radio show first.
That's right.
So the majority of the comedy, even in the movies later, stems from misinterpretation and not knowing what words are. I watched a kind of fun biography this morning about Abbott and Costello, one of those old like A&E biography channel. And Costello, he moved to L.A. as a stuntman because he was a very athletic youth. Kind of failed out of Hollywood, went back to either Missouri or Minnesota. But the point is, he started ending up on stage, and his first character was a semi-racist portrayal of a Dutch immigrant. And the joke at the time was that there were all these Dutch immigrants who came over, and English and Dutch have always been pretty related, but there's something about the nuance of just not understanding an English word because it means something slightly different in your language that can suddenly make learning another language harder. Like, I'm not going to ever try to learn Dutch kind of for that reason. It's too close and I'll miss everything. And also, why would I learn Dutch? But like, that's where a lot of his comedy stems from.
Yeah, I was just gonna add a little asterisk for all of our Dutch fans that we do love you. We just don't love your language. And apparently Sage doesn't like your culture very much, but that's okay.
I loved your appearance in all the Sims games.
Wow.
But the comedy is Abbott. So Abbott says something and Costello doesn't understand it. And it goes back and forth. And that's kind of what a lot of that stems from.
Well, that's who's on
famous,
first.
Yes.
Famous for originating who's on first, what's on second.
I don't know
I forget
something.
the rest of the joke. Oh, yeah, there you go.
I did it for you. It's that, but somehow 6 minutes long.
That's pretty amazing, isn't it? Because that must have been done back in the 50s. Who's on first? 60s is the latest, and yet it's with us today. It means
it's early
people
40s.
aren't communicating, right?
Yeah, but a little less purposeful. I don't know. I don't think it's making any bigger statement about communication. Abbott and Costello Go to the Tower of Babel would have been the movie to do that.
No, like two people are talking and they're not on the same plane. I mean, it's just shorthand for that. You're not talking the same thing, you guys. Listen to each other. Who's on first?
The other note that I made while watching this film and Lost in Alaska, which I do want to do a quick aside since you suggested that, was how much of the comedy was based around like just people not looking around the room while things happen. Like every communication error in like the comedy stems from a lack of communication that could either be solved in a second by anybody bothering to talk to each other or by looking around the room at any time, because it's requiring you to not see something that is clearly in your eye line.
The important part of that too, which goes classically both in horror and comedy, is the idea that the audience is in on it before your protagonists. And that's the same, like, it goes back to similar, like, Chekhov's gun is a similar idea where it's just like the audience is promised something, and it's that getting to savor that, knowing that moment's coming where Abbott is going to, or Costello, I forget which one's which sometimes, is going to sit in Frankenstein's lap. And we know that's coming, but he hasn't seen him yet.
Lost in Alaska is the first movie that you mentioned when I asked your relationship with Abbott and Costello. Did you get a chance to rewatch that, Dad?
I did not get a chance to rewatch it, but I
Completely fair.
remember
It's very
it pretty
bad.
well.
When did you watch that growing up? I'm assuming this was a childhood movie of yours.
Well, it was in the theaters then. It's,
Yeah.
there weren't that many movies, and the big movies, everybody saw them. They hit
Mhm.
all the theaters everywhere. Then they went up, then they came up to Alaska. So we probably saw the first run the second year.
Well, this
That,
would have had to have been like
it was
20
first
years
run.
after it came out early. Anyway, and that's one of the things I'm always fascinated about with like watching movies in the past is before this other media comes around and the ability to watch things at home, they would just show things in theaters forever, or take 10 years off and show them back again.
Mhm.
So, I mean, maybe Lost in Alaska would get sent up there more often, but that, and in general, I'm curious about how you feel about the representation of Alaska in movies during this period.
Okay, so I was 8 years old, like second, third grade. We used to go down to Hawaii, spend the winters going to school there on the Big Island, a place called Honoka. So we spent a couple of years doing that in my real young years, and it was like in the 1960s, 364, somewhere around there. So I went down there, and I was telling the people down there where, geez, the people up in Alaska, they all think you guys live in little grass shacks and, wear hula skirts and, grass skirts and all that. And they laughed and says, oh, yeah, you guys up there in your dog sleds and your igloos. And I go, no. We have
That's
houses
ridiculous.
just like they have houses here. So I thought it was a real funny story. So when I went back to Alaska that summer and talked to my peers up there, and I says, yeah, they thought we lived in igloos and had dog sleds and everything. And they said, ha, 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 them down there in their little grass shacks and their little grass skirts. And I says, no, they have houses just like we do. And I realized at the time that movies have got a big impact on how people that don't know anything about something see it in a movie, and it's not that that's their first learning of it. It's they actually imprint that way, and it's real hard to get rid of that because that's their first venture to it. And I thought, wow, in Hollywood that's what they do. They tell the stories, and they basically people's perceptions of things. That's why the U.S. I think is so strong in the United States, is because of that whole Hollywood thing. All the stories in the movies,
Yeah, our cultural
But it was like
imprint on like the world. Yeah.
at 8 or 9 years old, that was my first, oh, wow, this is really something. This from moving back and forth from Hawaii to Alaska. But Abbot Costello was the Alaska one, and it was probably Blue Hawaii was the Hawaiian one. That's the one that made Hawaii so big, the grass skirts and the grass shacks.
Is
Yeah.
that what's that movie? That's not an Abbott and Costello movie, right?
Elvis Presley.
No, that's Elvis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Don't know my Elvis story, but I
He
promise
was big
if
then too.
Abbott and Costello had gone to Hawaii, they would very much be in coconut bras and little grass skirts.
Yep.
Because
At least one of them would be for sure.
I meant the locals, but yeah, no, Lou Costello would also definitely be in a coconut bra. Anything to get a fat man in a funny costume. So Lost in Alaska, it starts in San Francisco, and they move some things around to get them to go to Alaska, but they're not in Alaska for most of the film. When they are in Alaska, they are in like 1890s gold rush Skagway. Now, I'll have to over-explain some of this for people who are not from Alaska.
Please do.
A third of the podcast and 95% of the audience. But Skagway is in the southeast. It does get snow, of course.
See, I thought
but
that was
it
just a slur that you were using for a type of outfit.
Skagway
or
does
something.
sound derogatory. Like,
Yeah, it
Skagway
really
is what
does.
we should be calling Fairbanks.
Okay.
It's where all the Skags live. That was a joke for 5% of the audience.
It was main entrance to the interior of Fairbanks, to where the gold was. It was the gold rush.
So the 1890s gold rush was actually a Canadian thing, but because of where the gold is, you did have to land in Alaska, go over a pass, go up the Chilkoot Trail into Yukon, which is distinctly not a part of Alaska. So all these villages would pop up to support, people starting their journey, and then some fantastic crime tales take place from that. So they go to this spot, and this is the only part that felt remotely authentic Alaska, which is just they're in a saloon and people are shooting at them all the time.
Oh, okay.
That's not a thing that happens in Alaska any more than lamentably later in the movie when they hang out with native communities. The movie does treat it like the Wild West. They treat the Native Alaskans like Native Americans, and they treat Skagway like it's Tombstone. They don't get lost in Alaska until the last 20 minutes of the film, which is a disappointment. But also, the movie that we're about to talk about, I would say Frankenstein is the least important of the monsters in the movie.
Yeah, that was surprising. They had a lot of different monsters. Dracula and
apparently,
Wolfman.
I was reading about some of them. They were going to have more. They had to trim it down to keep it to a nice, breezy attention span for the children who were seeing these.
80 minutes, too. Yeah, an hour and 20 minutes is all.
Well, it's illegal to make a movie over 80 minutes then. Hays Code. I'm kidding,
Yeah,
Dad.
that's true.
Yeah, it's bad for the youth to have them watch a movie for more than 80 minutes. It's
Maybe
corrupting.
because they had a lot of double features in.
Or because
The matinees were double features you went in for.
Well,
that's probably completely accurate, yeah.
When you were going to see a double feature, were you walking in, did you know when was starting and which one was going first, or would you just go in and they'd be playing them back to back over and over again?
No, they just played both of them once, but they started out with the trailer, and then you had cartoons before the movies, and then the movie, and then cartoons again.
This movie kind of opened with a cartoon. That made me excited.
That was cute, yeah. It's like that, growing up, the Pink Panther movies would have like those great animated features in the beginning.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those. And I remember
we should do a Pink Panther.
They'd actually show a couple cartoons before the movie, Bugs Bunny or Roadrunner stuff.
That sounds pleasant.
And they'd have one, what do they call them?
Newsreel or?
Newsreel? Yeah.
No, not the newsreel. It's a
Fireside Chat.
Yeah.
Cereal.
The president would come out and tell you have nothing to fear but fear itself.
You have about a 15-minute serial on.
Is that like a Batman or a Superman?
Yeah.
A true crime podcast. Sorry.
Flash
Gordon.
The Shadow. Like the Shadow.
Yeah. He knows.
He knows. Only the Shadow knows.
Never seen the Shadow.
Yeah, you wouldn't know.
I don't know. I got no shadow. Gavin, do you have any Universal monster lore? Do you have any connection to that side of this? We've gone through our Abbott and Costellos, but we're talking about two things right now.
Yeah, we are. This is one of the most impressive cash grabs that I can think of for a failing Universal trying to regain their footing. And yes, they're mixing two of my favorite genres mixed together, horror comedies. I didn't grow up with I remember watching The Wolfman a lot as a kid. That one really got to me, and he does play a very central role in this movie. I've actually never seen Bela Lugosi's Dracula. And then my dad was
You just know him from Ed Wood then?
Pretty much. Plan 9. Or wait, is that the same actor?
Yep, that's him and Glenn and Glenda, and I also only know these things from Tim Burton's Ed Wood movie.
Yeah, so for me, I remember watching Frankenstein as a kid. My dad really built that one up for me, to be honest. I was a little disappointed. And then, just to use the word and regret it, the whole gypsy backstory in...
That's better than I thought you were going to say. Yeah.
Jesus.
If you're going back to the 40s and you're just like, what words can't I say?
Sure. Yeah, I really grew up watching that movie a lot and being really enamored with the idea of mysticism and curses, and that version of the Wolfman really got to me. As we talked about in other podcasts, I wrote my own werewolf script that was kind of, even though
like werewolves, yeah, more of a
they're very fun.
Most people. Does it stem from this?
I think so, honestly.
That makes sense.
Lon Chaney did a really good job in that movie. It's really haunting seeing someone, in the one hand, not framed. It's not like you're not in control of what you did. And he's on the run from, and similarly, like Frankenstein plays on those same sympathies where it is a, monster who has murdered a little girl, but he's barely in control of his own body, and he doesn't, it's a very, the Universal movies being tied to tragedy is something that's very fun, and just right for making fun of, I guess. We'll see. But yeah, no, Lon Chaney was kind of big for me as a kid.
It's also kind of wild that they got most of these big established monster actors in this movie. That's how much a part of this world it is. It is two very established universes, although I suppose none of the Abbott and Costellos are really shared universes. Maybe they are. Maybe 4 or 5 of them are sequels.
They didn't get Karloff to play the monster. And
the one who has played the most and will do anything.
The one who's in the title.
Yeah.
But they, and I mean, they met him later in another movie called Abbott and Costello Meet the Killer Boris Karloff. And they paid him to do advertising for the movie, but I think he was just it seems like no one wanted to be a part of this movie. Sorry, my cat feeder's going off.
Never apologize for feeding your cat. You also don't have to bring it up on every episode. You can either solve the problem or don't acknowledge it. Every single time. I wanted to brief the audience on what the very important plots of this movie, because I'm actually ready this time. And
okay. Wow. Taking charge.
Hold on 1 second. I'm getting a call.
Walking back from that charge.
No, this is really cool. We may have a special guest. I tried to get some, I'll just hello, Quentin?
Oh.
Yeah, you still, so I'm doing it right now. The Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein episode. Yeah, let me patch you right in. 1 second, I can figure this out. Yeah, no, obviously, we're really blessed. We know that you only get to do 10 podcasts before you have to retire. So yeah, let me put you through. All right, you're live.
Yeah, so when I was a little kid, 3, 4, 5, really just starting to watch movies in a real way, my 2 favorite genres were horror and old classic comedies. So my favorite actors back then were Boris Karloff and Lon Chaney Jr. When I saw Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, I literally thought it was the greatest movie that has ever been made and that ever possibly will be made, because it literally was my 2 favorite things in the world put together. It was horror and it was comedy. And especially
that's crazy.
Somebody like Lou Costello, their whole infantile shtick is to relate to the kids, because they're like these imbeciles, all right? Literally infant adults. And so you relate to them. But the thing that I noticed it in Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, but then when they showed Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy, I realized that there was a theme that they carried on in their Abbott and Costello Meet the Monster movies.
You're bouncing around a little bit.
Was the fact that, yes, there was the comedy stuff. But then when the horror stuff happened and Abbott and Costello weren't in the scene, the horror stuff was played straight. The monsters never broke character, and the people that they were going to kill never broke character. It was never silly, all right?
So, Quentin, do you have a favorite of these monsters?
I think the Wolfman.
Really?
Yeah, well, I take that back. Okay, the Frankenstein monster was my favorite, but like a close second in the...
Okay, that's... hello? Quentin? Oh, okay, we lost him. Maybe he'll call back. Who knows? That's the biggest guest that we've got since Vin Diesel on our Street Sharks episode, so it's good to know that people care. Dad, do you know who that was?
That wasn't Quarantino, is it?
That's close enough, yes.
Okay.
The show's going places. All right, so Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. Abbott and Costello are playing some real Abbott and Costello types who work as delivery men, tasked to deliver some mysterious European imports to McDougal's House of Horrors. They know because McDougal straight up tells them that it's Dracula and Frankenstein in the box.
The remains of, yes.
The remains of, yeah. Well, I mean, it could be anything. They deliver it at night, and Dracula sneaks out, takes Frankenstein with him, and our duo is arrested for mail theft. It turns out that there is a whole... Well, okay, so a love triangle happens for some reason, because the Dr. Costello is suspiciously dating against all odds, is using him using him for his brain. But she didn't actually care about his pratfalls. By which I mean she is in league with Dracula to abduct his brain for Frankenstein so that he can be a proper slave to the Count. There's also a second woman infatuated with Costello, but not really, who is an undercover insurance investigator who bailed them out of jail. And Costello doesn't know what to do with all these women. And also there's a wolf man. He's trying to help, but wolf man. So they go back to the house, which turns out to actually be the House of Dracula. One of Dracula's castles, where he does his experiments in New England, I guess. To do a search, and some fun Scooby-Doo stuff happens. The sexy doctor lady gets Dracula'd. The owner of the place gets Wolfmanned. Costello also gets mind Dracula'd, and Abbot inexplicably still doesn't believe that there's any monster stuff going around until he also gets mind Dracula'd. Anyway, the 37 people I just mentioned break in and have a big old laboratory fight. Frankenstein throws a lady through a window. The Wolfman tackles Dracula into the sea. Frankenstein just straight up walks into a fire. And that's the story of how Abbot and Costello meet the Invisible Man. I skipped over some parts, but we're not going to pretend that the plot matters in this, right? It is Abbot and Costello doing hijinks around Universal monsters. And I think Tarantino kind of explained what works.
You're right.
Yeah, it's about... Again, I watched some others. There is more character development in this one than most. Wow. Really, my biggest problem with the straight man, funny man dynamic in this is that it is ridiculous how much of the movie Bud Abbott does not believe that Costello has clearly seen a significant amount of monsters. It also just seems statistically unlikely that only one person would be exposed to all these things.
I mean, as you mentioned, he keeps not seeing them. There is multiple times when they walk into a room with a swinging door and they just miss him by mere moments. It's a real comedy of errors.
It's a real comedy.
Very much so. Trapdoors? Do we like trapdoors? Do we like false
glad
walls?
That there's enough castle going on in this movie because, having not taking place in Transylvania or London, I'm glad we get some time in good old American castles.
Trapdoors. I'm always amazed. They go down trapdoors. Haven't they watched any movies? Don't go down there.
I would guess that they have watched movies because in this universe, they're very aware of who Frankenstein and Dracula are. Yes, those are literary characters, but it feels like it's indicated oh yeah, I saw the Bela Lugosi Dracula movie. Good thing that isn't real, wink to camera.
And yet they're so untrusting of the werewolf idea, first off. That's the one that they're no, why, you're not a werewolf. You didn't get bit by a werewolf. That's the one that I feel like everyone's just kind of nah.
I feel like you're just coming to the defense of werewolves.
How did you feel about the love triangle? How fast did you catch on that there was something amiss about, I forget her name, the doctor?
Yeah, Dr. Sandra something.
Dr. Sandra. I've been trying to remember if we're so trained growing up on sitcom families with the tall, attractive woman and the rounder, schlubby guy. Yeah. At first, I just thought this was a wholesome relationship that we were witnessing with his jealous friend.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm supposed to be suspicious of it at all, or if this is just what happens. I also haven't watched the previous 24 Abbott and Costello movies, so I don't know what kind of archetypes they set up.
Well, and then we are immediately, the second another pretty woman bats her eyes at him, he's just sure, yeah, let's do both. Why not both?
Yeah, I also don't know what the movies. Yeah, we'll just bring them to the same location on the same date, and just no, this. You ask how I felt about it. I hated it. That was absolutely the worst part of the movie. I buy the high concept of they're stuck in a monster castle way more than I buy. Not that I'm not trying to be mean. It's not that two women are interested in Lou Costello. It is that it all happens at the same time, and they're going to the same place, and they're doing a very poor, not even a Three's Company or something. But
they're not even
hiding
doing
from
a Three's
They're not
Company.
even trying. They're
Crazy.
not even really finding any jokes out of it, other than
I'll figure this
Abbott
out.
Being I'll take one off your hands.
Yeah.
But at least there wasn't any, my wife's dead, isn't that great jokes in this one. What's the famous one? My wife's an angel, Dad. How would you respond to that?
My wife's an angel?
Mm-hmm.
How would I respond to that? We have all parts to us.
The classic Abbott and Costello bit that I just assumed you remembered was, oh, that's lucky, mine's still alive. And then they laugh for 10 seconds straight.
Jesus.
Isn't it funny?
Wow.
The two other ones I watched, the bits or the backstory in the movie involve them both being in unhappy relationships. Or at least they'll tell jokes about how much they hate their wives, but then they'll have a love interest later in the movie.
In this one, the joke that we get, which does kind of soften the relationship for me, when they're like, you realize that Sandra and him have not been seeing each other for more than like 72 hours. So the way that she is acting around him is crazy. But they refer to, like those girls last week. You know, yeah, at least yours had teeth. Yours had teeth. Mine had tooth.
Mine had tooth. That's good, though. It is a flip of a coin which jokes are going to work for me and which ones don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can't tell if that's just the objective humor in the movie or if just like, did they all work in the 40s? Did different things, were there things that didn't work then that are hilarious now? I'll never know.
Well, and I will say that there's part of the rhythm to this movie is rather than being closer to, say, even, it's farther from Charlie Chaplin than it is from Mel Brooks. And I think, like, I grew up on Young Frankenstein, which is another Frankenstein-based joke a minute or joke a second comedy.
Or Dracula Dead and Loving It. Mel Brooks very much lives in this realm.
I've never seen that. You know,
I watched it for our Dracula episode, but sure.
You know, having not seen Bela Lugosi's Dracula, I wasn't sure I'd get the jokes.
It's 100% Bram Stoker's Dracula, but Mel Brooks doing it.
Okay. But yeah, I think that this is another movie where they're throwing so many jokes at the screen, hoping that if 1/3 of them maybe don't work, or even 2/3 of them don't work, that the third that do will keep you laughing throughout the movie.
The airplane technique, right?
Yeah. It's very much precursors to that same slapstick energy, but mixed with the amount of comedy you'd have to do in a radio show to keep people laughing.
Yeah, and I can't get mad at that concept, especially when, you know, when it slaps, it slaps. That's why they call it slapstick, right? Because sometimes it slaps. That's where it comes from. I wonder if, I'm not going to look up what slaps means
as
right
opposed
now.
to drama that smacks.
What does goated mean?
Hey, no.
All right. Sorry. Doing old bits now. But these are the ones that Gavin and I used to do on our radio show 15 years ago, you see.
Now, one thing that I was thinking about is with this movie in particular, as you know, I'm a huge fan of horror comedies. And I think of Scream as being the origination of that for me. I don't know what the impact of this movie was on my psyche for that specific trigger, because in my head, this is just a comedy. It was interesting listening to Quentin talk about how much the horror works for him, because they are playing the horror stuff straight. That is...
Yes.
For the most part. I will argue that the amount of times that one of them is slowly walking away from a monster or the monster is slowly walking towards them, and we're supposed to believe that, you know, the werewolf can't catch this man who's just kind of walking through a house.
Well, he's just trying to sneak around.
The playing loose and fast with how the horror... It's not that the rules are wrong.
Yeah. It's that...
I don't...
There's three movies happening here. There is a classic Universal horror movie. There is Abbott and Costello doing bits with each other, and then there is the Scooby-Doo part, and that is Scooby-Doo.
And that's also a very fun formula, which is like looking at like Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, where you still do similarly have to play the horror stuff straight. There are cat people monsters and there are ghosts of Confederate soldiers, and we're just going to have to accept that that's also part of the Scooby-Doo universe, unless it's a TV show, because then it's someone in a mask.
You cut out for a second there, but did you say ghosts or did you say ghosts?
It's such an interesting balance, that's all.
Dad, you were prepared to just not understand any of our references or bits, right, when you came on this?
Get a little bit of it.
Yeah, okay, good.
So, Dan, you said you weren't a big horror fan. Growing up in Alaska, did you guys have any specific monsters that you guys had to watch out for? Any folk villains or anything?
Ooh, yeah. Are there any cryptids?
Some Wendigos?
The cremated remains of Sam McGee? That wasn't for you, Gavin. No, I mean, what was there anything?
We had to walk in the dark a lot.
Yeah.
So why complicate it?
Well, what I think Gavin's asking, and what I would love to know the answer to, is, like, are there any local horror legends that are Alaska-specific? Do we have our Bigfoot or Abominable Snowman, or is it the answer just wolves? just wolves.
He just had enough things to be actually scared of, like the cold.
Just getting picked up by an eagle. Bear
Nothing
man.
I can think of except, maybe bears or something outside. Had to keep an eye open. Never know when to be walking around because they like houses and garbage pails and stuff.
Now's your chance to just make up a cryptid and be really confident about it. Like, do you guys know about Grizzly Man? Half grizzly, half man. It's not even like a top and bottom half. It's like every quarter of him is a different part. So he's got like the pecs of a man, and then like the head of a bear, and the feet of a bear, and the bad knees of a man.
Don't like that at all.
Yeah.
Is there 2 knees or 4 knees?
He's all knees.
Grizzly Man. Check him out. And Werewolf in Alaska is just what you ask as you look around cautiously while you're in the woods.
Sure.
Werewolf. Who's on first? Gavin, from a Universal monster perspective, which we've clearly established you're the expert of, this movie has some effects. It has some fun stuff. I gushed about the cartoon at the beginning. But it's also got a really fun Dracula turned into a bat. How do you feel about the creatures and the designs in this?
Honestly,
Since I don't think we're going to talk about cinematography or sounds.
I mean, I actually really like the look of this movie. I think that like the lighting, like even when they're just in like hallways, you've got like those projections of like the windows on the walls. Everything's kind of uplit, but like given a reason for it. A lot of the time, there'll be like a weird light coming from the floor due to like, what do they call those trapdoors, like you were saying? Or like a grate in the floor. So there's all this like motivated, heightened lighting to make use of the black and white. And then, I loved the bat effects. I think, the cross dissolves into and out of. I remember there's one where Dracula flies and lands on a boat where the blonde and Costello are, and Abbot is like watching them from the shore. And it's a little silly in the film because everyone's just frozen in place for the animation to happen, and then it still has to cross dissolve out.
That doesn't bother me. I love it.
No, it's a good time, and you get like the classic eyes of Dracula. Honestly,
sorry, my cat feeder's going off.
I think the only thing that I was a little disappointed by is like the makeup on Frankenstein's kind of lacking a little bit, but everyone else looks great. And I've never been a huge fan of how curly the Wolfman's got like some nice hair. It's very curly. It's got that little like curly fro, which is the very classic look. But it looks great.
Even with so many of the original actors in this, I didn't expect them to put in like this amount of work into these parts.
No, they're very present.
Especially when you're asking them to, like, walk around slowly and stalk Abbott and Costello when they're famous for being fast and powerful. I mean, I guess Frankenstein's slow and powerful.
Well, and Dracula doesn't have to be fast. It's really just the werewolf who we're kind of having to accept that, like, sure, okay, whatever. No, I thought it was kind of interesting. Abbott and Costello seemed like the ones who were the least wanting to be here. But even Bela Lugosi says the script was not unbecoming to Dracula's dignity. All I have to do is frighten the boys. A perfectly appropriate activity. My trademark remains unblemished. That was Bela Lugosi stepping in to defend the movie.
No, I got it. I thought your dad was here. Honestly, that was a perfect impression of your dad doing an impression of Bela Lugosi.
But yeah, Abbott and Costello seemed like they would just screw off and ditch the movie set from day to day. And really had to be contractually reined in to remain and finish the movie, which is, I don't understand not wanting to be in this movie from their point of view. I don't get it.
I don't know. You have to remember, it's not just their 25th movie. It's their 25th movie in like 10 years.
Okay.
Like, I have to imagine they're pretty tired of all of this. I'm sure even at this point in 1948, this felt like a giant cash grab. They probably think the rest of what they're doing is more artistic.
It was interesting. Like, before this movie, I was reading a little bit about what happened to Universal Pictures, and they'd fired like everybody before this movie. The year before was awful. They were basically out of business. They had to merge with like a British financier who's the one who wanted this movie to happen. I don't think any of the Universal monsters were still under contract. Like the actors had been off and they were brought back for this. Basically, it sounded like Abbott and Costello were one of like the 7 actors they still had on payroll.
Okay.
So this was very much a potential last gasp if it didn't work, and then it was a huge hit.
So do you think this came more from an approach of, so this isn't about saving Abbott and Costello and like making that career bigger so much as it is milking the Universal monsters more and the Dark Universe.
I think, the Dark Universe. I think it's. I mean, I don't have the best understanding of it, but it sounds like it was probably both. I think it was.
That didn't even occur to me. This felt like a natural extension of just like Abbott Costello's like, you know what movie we should do? We should just like do hijinks in Dracula's castle. How do we make that happen? We should meet a wolfman. We should meet the killer Boris Karloff.
Yeah, I don't understand how the title is Frankenstein instead of Dracula or the Wolfman.
No, it makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah. They both sound better, too, in my opinion. I don't know.
This is a good opportunity. So this is, for a movie that's a lot of bits, I would like to know what really works for you and what doesn't.
Honestly, my favorite... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, don't talk over my dad unless he's not ready. Do you have any, like, what's something that really worked for you and something where you're just like, no, that's not any good?
Well, the bat didn't cut it.
Turning into a bat didn't work for you?
No, the flying of the bat more than anything. The transition was pretty good. Probably for back then, it was really good. You know, where he went from a bat to a person to a back.
Yeah.
I found it charming.
For 1950s, that was probably top technology, huh?
All right, what was your favorite, like, Abbott and Costello bits? What really worked?
What worked? I can't think. Going back this time, I mean, a lot of it worked back then, but not much. Yeah, no. It just, you sat there and he treated him so meanly. How could anybody, there's no compassion at all in that skinny guy. So that worked, yes.
Sounds like your favorite and least favorite thing about this movie was Abbott and Costello's relationship. My
favorite? Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Nothing else hung together. Too much.
Okay. I mean, it sounds like there's things I like more and things I like less, which is about what I would have expected talking to my dad about this movie.
Yeah.
The other thing there was probably one good-looking guy out of the whole thing. That was the guy without any brain. They wanted his brain for Frankenstein. And two pretty girls, and there was only two girls in the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, nowadays, everybody has to be good-looking. They're going to have a lot of character.
Yeah, every Dracula has to have a whole thrall.
Yeah, but everybody looks great now. But back then, they had character. Maybe they developed off the radio shows.
There's a lot of moments in this film that I think worked well enough, but would have worked really well if they were like 30 seconds instead of 3 minutes long. Like, there's so many sight gags and bits. I think about Costello sitting down on Frankenstein. Like, that worked really well. Could have been half as long. We don't need to watch Costello count his whole hands, you know? There's 3 hands. Let me hold up 3 and look at it until it's time to slink away. Because when he slinks out of Frankenstein, then it's good. Earlier on, there's some scenes in the mailroom or when he's investigating Dracula's tomb. You know, the coffin keeps coming to life and are just like, this scene should be 20 seconds long and it's 8 minutes of him being like, you're not going to believe what just happened with this coffin. At a certain point, you should believe him anyway, right? If it's happened 3 times, and you're not a complete asshole, just believe your friends. Whereas my absolute least favorite moment was right at the end as they're escaping in the boat. He's just not cutting the rope for some reason. And you hear Abbott tell Costello, cut the rope 6 times. You don't need that. You could just cut that dialogue if it's happening so much. Like, we get it. Costello screws everything up. That's what he does. But, like, we don't need to watch him screw up and then watch Abbott just comment on it and call him an idiot.
Probably could have been better just not even saying cut the rope. I mean, that was pretty obvious.
You don't need to hear it 6 times, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And then I like that it tagged with Invisible Man showing up. Although I genuinely thought it was going to be Creature from the Black Lagoon because they're in the water.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have made more sense.
Water, yeah.
Some of my favorite stuff in this movie is actually the opening before we're even introduced to the monsters. I think having the dramatic werewolf on the phone and them dealing with opening the packages is some of the broadest physical humor we get. When he climbs up on top of the thing and it is defying gravity, swinging back and forth, threatening to basically drop this man and murder him is a lot of fun. And similar to you, my least favorite stuff is just the amount of times that we have to watch Costello do silly voices for a little too long.
Yeah. It's just always a little too long.
But I know I'm not 8. And I think that at the end of the day, this is despite seeing several people get killed in this movie and we watch Frankenstein burn to death, it's still a movie for 8-year-olds, maybe 12-year-olds.
Wow, man.
Hey,
That's why there's all the love triangle stuff in it. I feel like we're at the time where we can start doing our metrics and figure out if we like this. Oh, hold up. I'm getting one more call. Oh, thank God.
Oh.
Hey, Mr. Tarantino. Yeah, no, you dropped out. It's been happening today. I think there's just poor connections in Los Angeles right now.
Is that his television clicker?
Don't ruin the bit, okay? My phone's being used as a camera. I'm using my calculator as the phone.
Oh, okay.
But I have rigged it up. This is one-way line. It only talks to Mr. Tarantino.
Okay.
Yeah, we're actually just about to do our still goods, which is well, I'll explain to everyone else, but you've listened to every episode. So now is your opportunity to talk more about how you like this movie.
To some degree or another, I even think Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein ended up having, to some degree or another, an effect of me as an artist, i.e. the fact that at 5, I was able to make genre distinctions.
But not 8, yeah.
This is the Abbott and Costello slapstick comedy part of the movie. This is the Universal horror film part of the movie. This exists here and this exists here, and then they combine them together. So now they're combining my 2 favorite genres together. And I was even able to make those distinctions.
Oh, so this is a story about how clever you are.
This is the best movie ever made because they put my 2 favorite types together. I've been mixing and matching my favorite genres ever since I started putting pen to paper. None of my movies are just one thing. They're always like a lot of different genres and subgenres crammed into it.
Mixmaster Tarantino. Yeah.
Hello, Quentin? Keeps happening today. But it's cool that he could, bring it back to, how brilliant he is and how it's influenced him.
That is the most important part of this movie.
Yeah. What is From Dusk Till Dawn if not Clooney and Tarantino beat a bunch of vampires?
I'd forgotten about that.
You should never forget about Dusk Till Dawn. You should wake up every morning and think, I get to live in a world with From Dusk Till Dawn. With several From Dusk Till Dawns, technically.
One of my favorites. Yeah. I do treasure that.
It's a good movie. All right, it is time. Is this movie still good? Is it better as a memory? Or does it turn into a bat and get tackled by a wolfman into the ocean? Which I'm assuming kills no one involved.
I did say earlier that we watched Frankenstein burn to death, but technically we don't see any of the Universal monsters fully meet an end, I'd assume.
Werewolf
probably rough. That's a rough landing for a werewolf, but he does land in the water.
He lands on a bat, too. So I would have had it if he had ripped it apart, if he was eating it on the way down, that would have been pretty cool. Probably couldn't do that in a Hays Code.
Okay.
Gavin, would you like to go first?
Sure. I'm going to say this movie's still good. At the end of the day, this movie's, for how much is packed in it, it's not promising much, in my opinion. And I think it over-delivers on what it is offering. I think you get to watch slapstick comedy meet a child-friendly version of the Universal monsters. And while it's not my favorite type of horror comedy, I think this is an important part of horror comedy. And I'm glad that there is, on that same Scooby-Doo level, this type of movie. So I'm going to say still good.
Dad, I'm really excited to learn this because, well, the idea of better as a memory often doesn't apply to what we're doing, but sure does here.
Better as a memory. I think that I would recommend it to a friend, though, that was being very friendly and nice and, just real optimistic about everything and just one of them type of people that you can't stand. I think I'd recommend that to him.
You would give this to someone you don't like because of their optimism? There's a lot to unpack in this sentence, Dad.
Yeah. You get older, I think it doesn't look as good. A lot of the programs.
It's fair.
I really like that neither of us are getting hung up on how it looks, because it's Yeah, it's 80 years old. Who cares?
Right.
I genuinely couldn't tell if that was better as a memory or just like we shouldn't talk
Better,
about this
better
again.
as a memory.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think that's completely fair. I am not going to know which I'm going to give it till the end of this, because there was a lot that I liked about this, and I did myself a favor and I watched some other Abbott and Costellos before this, just kind of threw them on the background, and let me tell you, this is
rank
better. Yeah. Oh, I mean,
Okay.
I only watched a couple. No, this was a marked improvement from the other ones that I watched, which was just somehow getting Abbott and Costello to Dracula's castle was less of like guiding hand of the author than Lost in Alaska or whatever the other one I put around is, which is just a very convoluted way to get them to where they need to be for the title, as opposed to like they could have just gotten to Alaska and gotten lost. They could have been there for the gold rush, but no, they're volunteer firefighters who have rescued someone who's coming back from Alaska trying to kill themselves, and then they are framed for his murder, but they're already on the boat to Alaska, so they go to Alaska. I'm sorry, what?
I mean, that sounds kind of fun, I'm gonna be honest.
It's not, because you could just start off with, well, we're going to Alaska to go in the gold rush. You don't need the 40 minutes in San Francisco that ultimately come down to, we're being framed for your murder, and the person's not dead. I can't stress this. This is another example of like, oh, this could be solved by 10 seconds. Also, theoretically, in a timeline where people have more, the audience members have more faith in just the police solving things.
Sure.
I don't know, but just the idea of like, you're going to be arrested for the murder of someone who is still alive and is also in the same room at you at this moment while you're running away from the cops? I don't know. So I'm going to say this is still good, but because everything else made me so mad. And ultimately,
okay.
There's just nothing to get mad at in this movie, and it's could it be better? Yes,
Sure,
it could be better.
Absolutely,
and we're gonna make it better in a second.
Oh,
You know what they might be working on there, and this might be cultural. Back then, there wasn't as much going on as there is today that you guys take for granted.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with the phones, and I mean, everything speeds up, and it speeds up every year. It speeds up at a faster rate. And this has been going on since, at least the 80s and probably before.
Yeah.
But beforehand, maybe that type of movie was the type that would play well in Sweden or something,
Sure.
Slow stuff.
I
wonder
think,
how much is in that.
I think Sage, your TikTok brain is what's happened.
I have absolutely not TikTok great.
No, I think that is a good point. That
Because there's concepts and things and stuff that we do now that before the turn of the century, 2000, you couldn't even frame it in your head. Think about, like information being king, that was the big thing was going on there that they projected out, that was going to be the big thing. And it is. And now you don't even second think it, but back then you couldn't even conceive it. So you go back another 50 years and who knows things can be slower and fit the audience perfectly because the audience is slower. They're not used to anything.
Yeah, I get it. This movie was made for a bunch of dum-dums. Is that what you're saying?
See, the reason you can sit down and read a book, where a lot of people physically cannot sit down and read a book, because it's too much time on one thing and there's other things going on.
A book is like
there might be a lot
7,000 TikToks long.
Yeah.
at minimum, yeah.
Yeah. It's so many vines.
You can't sit down and watch a movie for 8 hours, but you stream all the episodes that are only 45 minutes long. Hell yeah.
That's a good point,
Yeah, we'll do that, but not a movie that's 8 hours long.
The illusion of choice of, because what a binge show is I can stop anytime I want.
Absolutely.
With that. And if you do get the courage to stop, you don't feel like a failure. You'll feel like a failure in a movie. You're just like, I can't do it. I'm too. Can you imagine, Gavin, if you went to saw a movie and fell asleep in it?
For the audience at home,
for Dad.
Yeah. Okay.
Gavin falls asleep at a lot of movies, and we make fun of him a lot in kindness, not in a Lou Costello way.
When things happen, TV schedules, movies, that sort of thing, you had to be there at the time it started till the time it stopped. So you dedicated that time to it. Now you can stop anything you're watching and check your mail or do whatever you want to do, or go make some tea, have a pot of tea, and then coffee.
Or say go to the bathroom, which is
I don't hate all of it.
Yeah.
But back then, everything had to happen. I mean, when they scheduled it, you had to be there if you wanted to see it or do it.
Well,
And if
and
you weren't, you didn't do it or see it.
that is one of the things about like double features. One of my favorite memories is going down to the Castro when they do double or triple features, and they would often run those same features throughout the day, which is kind of what I understood as the way that, like, I think my dad grew up going to the movies that way, where you could just drop in and they'd be alternating between 2 or 3 movies all day. And if you'd come in the middle of a movie, sit down and watch the end of that one, the next one, and then just catch the beginning
of the one that you missed. I like that.
I remember doing that with a Ray Harryhausen and triple feature. It was great.
It's not a great way. It's a similar thing. Like, I'm sure that's
Nolan
not how the director
intended.
would watch
Yeah.
as Nolan intended. If you go and watch the last half of Tenet, and then
Interstellar.
3 hours later watch the first half.
Yeah.
They just show
The
Memento
Sixth Sense
backwards, like
did
Nolan
really well
should
that
have.
way too. Yeah.
There's one thing that I meant to bring up an hour ago, but just now found my notebook, and then we can reboot this thing. So in the biography, the most fascinating thing I learned, let me pose it as a question. Who do you think made more money, Abbott or Costello?
The Funny Man?
You still don't know which is which, do you?
I think Costello's the Funny Man, but no, I'm
Costello
not sure.
is the funny man. Costello is the portly one doing pratfalls, and Abbott's the thin man.
Yeah.
So back then, it was genuinely considered that the straight man was the more important, harder job.
Wild.
And I don't want to disagree with straight man being a hard job. Like, it is, especially just like not laughing when someone's trying to make you laugh, knowing that like it has to be played off of you. But that was the more important position. That was the more famous position. That was the better paid positions.
Huh.
When they started out in their like theater troupe days and even the radio show, it was 60-40. Abbott was making more money.
Okay.
And what's wild about that to me is like, I don't even think Abbott's a particularly good straight man. Like, this is a thing that I think we do better today with that dynamic, is that the straight man also gets to be goofy, it gets to be fun, and you can believe that these people are friends. A little bit different in, like, I mean, if they're in a job where they're just forced, but all the Abbott and Costello ones is just like, no, these people will also live together when they're done with their job and sleep in the same bed, 40s style.
Right. I wonder, because that a lot of the duos that I've read about, I was recently listening to, similarly, you're talking about Dean Martin,
Jerry Lewis,
and Jerry Lewis, and they also fell out over money and I think the way that they were handled as a duo. It's a tough act to stay together, and to be, for this being the 25th movie, as you were saying, with that relationship says a lot.
It is more enjoyable now, a thing that we've cracked. I think about one of my favorite like buddy shows, Psych.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't tell you what happens in any single episode of Psych, but like Gus is playing a straight man, but he's also goofy and he is down to clown.
Yeah.
And when they're doing hijinks, they're both equally involved in the hijinks.
Well, and there's also the ability for someone, which does happen in this movie, but I'd argue something that Psych does very well is when the straight man gets in on the bit in terms of like, all right, I believe you now.
Yeah. Shouldn't
That
happen
works.
a full hour into an 80-minute movie.
Yeah, it is a little tougher handled in this movie.
Yeah. Because, like, the Scooby-Doo part towards the end of this, I really liked. When Wolfman is fighting Dracula and Frankenstein's chasing Abbott and Costello around.
Yeah.
They even have a great bit where, like, Abbott pretends to be Dracula by putting a tablecloth off and then immediately ruins it because they haven't really nailed comedy yet. You know what? This is better as a memory. I just think about, like, how many things they almost did right and then, like, pulled back or, like, second-guessed or something.
Yeah.
Could use a rewrite. Sorry, Quentin. Disagree. I guess we're not going to brand this to a Vista podcast after all. All right. Well, I have good news. Good news and bad news. We didn't get like we have the rights to Abbott and Costello. We always have. They've been public domain for a while. They're actual life rights and likeness. Anybody could just make an Abbott and Costello movie. Don't check on that. Just make the movie and see what happens.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's that's truly existentially terrifying. We have the Dracula rights because we got it for your dad's episodes.
Right, I recall.
We weren't able to secure Frankenstein or the Invisible Man, although you could just put the Invisible Man on screen and call him something different. You can't do anything about that.
He's actually in every movie I've shot. If you look for him really closely, you still can't see him.
So for director's cameo, Invisible Man smoking in the background.
Yeah.
So we have the opportunity to make a crossover for our streaming service, Still Good Plus, which, let me tell you, is struggling. It's about to be bought by Paramount.
They're just
But
snapping
we
up
want to at
everybody.
least put some stuff in development and hope that they pick up the tab. So we've got a little thing that we play here, and we're going to play it now.
We're reviving a canceled undercover police program from the 80s.
Oh, it's not a remake, it's a reboot.
You see, the guys in charge of this stuff lack creativity.
What the fuck is a reboot?
So all they do now is recycle shit from the past.
We're working on less of a shriekwell and more of a scream make.
Expect us all not to notice.
I like it. Another!
Okay, so there's a couple different ways we can approach this question, because we're essentially just doing a crossover. If you want Abbott and Costello to meet a classical character, make us that pitch. If you want a modern duo to be in one of these movies, or if you just want to like make a shared universe crossover that shouldn't really exist, now's your chance.
I will say that the thing that jumped into my mind, so Universal being the brand that it is, was the thing that I kind of latched onto, and what sinister tie-in would today work in that terrible fashion. My mind immediately jumped to A24, and just picture, if you will, Tim Robinson meets Paimon, or Paimon. How do you pronounce
what is
the monster, the demon from Hereditary?
Well, I could have picked something a little more specific and less obscure, but
Well, I was like,
it's your pitch.
could
It's
be
your pitch.
Tim Robinson meets the witch sounds better, but like honestly,
Tim Robinson meets the last black man from San Francisco.
Just the idea of like the mom and the son in Hereditary, and pretend that like this is all happening while they've rented out their extra room to Tim Robinson while he's trying to get some business position off the ground. And I'm not saying this works. This is the thing that like I would approach with extremely morbid curiosity of
You're
Tim
modernizing
Robinson's
it.
yelling humor that like similarly I tend to like in general, but also every once in a while the bit is that it goes on too long. Like that is part of his bit.
That's actually the perfect Abbott and Costello update. Like keeping in the spirit. Tim Robinson famously just like, no, we're going to stop what's going on so that I can yell at someone for 3 minutes, defending myself for something that is clearly my fault.
And you picture, you do that with like a brother dealing with the guilt of potentially killing his sister on accident through neglect, and then finding out that you're going to be the second coming of the demon lord that has a cult.
Okay.
Yeah, or Tim Robinson goes to Midsommar.
Robinson goes to Midsommar. Yeah. Dad, I'll send you the hot dog sketch later so that you know what we're talking about. I do think you'll enjoy that. I don't think you'll enjoy a single other Tim Robinson sketch.
But that's my pitch.
Okay. Modernizing, I would, if I could make a note,
by all means,
that could also be just a Key and Peele in the A24 neon sort of modern horror landscape, which obviously, I mean, that's Jordan Peele directed.
You do Key and Peele within probably the Us universe.
Yes.
Just to keep it within that branding,
Key and Peele meet the others. That's an extra level of meta. I was trying to think about like who we have that are sort of modern duos. They're not always going to be like, oh, we've made 20 movies together. I think we did even have that 30 years ago. We'd have just buddy movies all the way through. You'd have your Spade and Farley's. You'd have anybody who's been on SNL just making movies together. Lethal Weapon, yeah. Little less comedies, but like that's a famous pairing. You could stunt cast Mel Gibson and Danny Glover, not in in one of these, but can't really stunt cast Mel Gibson in anything now, but you get what I'm saying.
Sure.
He said some things.
Jackie Chan and
Chris Tucker. Yeah.
You're right.
Taking one of those pairings, I had a couple ideas of people who are like really good real life friends and have been in a couple movies together. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, not really famous for being super funny, but they're good creative writers. And I'd love to see their take on meeting a modern monster. Let's say, someone they know. So here's my pitch: Matt Damon and Ben Affleck meet Harvey Weinstein.
No. Oh. Okay.
That was the opposite of yes-anding me. You don't like that? Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Channing Tatum. who was already such a wonderful pair in like 21 Jump Street. Channing Tatum, Jonah Hill. That's, I think, the best example of straight man, funny man, because Channing Tatum's also funny man in that, because Channing Tatum's just very funny. He just happens to be a lot more handsome than Jonah Hill. I think that's fair to say.
And Costello, arguably.
And Costello, and Abbott, and 99% of people who have ever lived.
Yeah.
I think about how in the Sony hack that happens when North Korea hacked, allegedly, a bunch of Sony emails and put them up online in retaliation for a movie that was being made. One of the nuggets that we gleaned from that, there was a crossover suggestion between 21 Jump Streets and Men in Black.
Yeah, I see it. What's funny is, I mean, you're also, like, the movie that you're mentioning there is honestly Seth Rogen and James Franco meet Kim Jong-un.
Yeah.
It is already that formula.
That was their fourth movie together. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so we're still kind of doing this. We're just not, like, putting the actors' names in the title anymore and have it for a while.
Yeah. Ernest Goes to North Korea.
Dad, has this stirred up any ideas?
Well, to play them would be Key and Peele. I'd cast for them, because that's kind of what they do, only a lot more sophisticated.
Yeah.
Which isn't a high bar to go from, but.
And they can play either. Both of them can do funny man or straight man. Like, they alternate that, and I think that's why that show got to go 5 years, is no one ever got an ego about anything.
I wonder if they were paid the same 60-40 and who got the split.
They wouldn't be now.
Though they could do a skit on it, though.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So what classic character would you like these people to meet?
Well, let's throw Trump in there.
You want Key and Peele meet Trump? I don't think I have any follow-up questions.
Yeah, it's got possibilities.
Key and Peele stuck on Epstein Island?
Escape from Epstein Island, yeah.
There you go. There could be a Jordan Peele movie that's just black people are trapped on Epstein Island. That might be the next one.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I didn't expect the funny people get stuck in a castle full of monsters to get so tragically political.
Still trying to figure out where they came up with that castle on the lake.
Yeah.
It just popped in the screen. It was like, how?
They just keep saying, they refer to it as the island.
Just making shit up.
Well, I think what you want, and I'm not going to look at what this movie actually is, but there is an Abbott and Costello movie called Hit the Ice. So I think we should just remake that now. Again, no one gets to look up what the movie was. Oh my God. How do we end this, Gavin?
That's it.
Well, hey, wasn't this tied to a remake of Frankenstein?
Oh God, we completely forgot to front load it. Yes, so there is, we moved on to dad casts, but yes, The Bride is coming out. This is a very influential movie. There ended up being less Frankenstein in this movie than I expected, but Maggie Gyllenhaal's movie will come out next week, which stars probable Academy Award winner Jessie Buckley and Christian Bale as Frankenstein, and it looks wacky, and I can't believe people are giving anyone this much money to make something like this.
So if you kind of liked this movie, maybe you thought it was still better as a memory, but you're looking for a project with a little bit more Frankenstein in it, what Frankenstein movies would you recommend?
Ooh.
I'm going to go ahead and claim the easy one that I grew up with that's very much in this vein is Young Frankenstein's pretty great. I think that's some of Mel Brooks' best work in my opinion. My favorite of his is probably Robin Hood Men in Tights, but Young Frankenstein's pretty great.
I'm not a big Frankenstein guy, sadly. Yeah. I'm going to go with Poor Things. That's a Frankenstein movie.
Oh, that is a good one. Yeah.
Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein movie that just came out, which is the freshest one in everyone's mind, half of that movie is really good. The actual Jacob Elordi Frankenstein part is wonderful, and the rest of the movie looks wonderful. And honestly, I've had some time to sit on it. Oscar Isaac as Frankenstein's not very good. I think he's miscast, or maybe just the movie shouldn't be focusing on him at all, since it's clearly more interested in the grace of being a newborn in this world, but also having to deal with everyone being afraid of you.
Okay. I want to give an honorable shout out because similarly, the opening of this where they're working in the package factory and arguing and not getting along as coworkers reminded me of one of my favorite openings, which is in Return of the Living Dead, when the young punk's got a job and he's working in this weird factory where there happens to be a tar zombie. and the old guy's running them through the ropes, and they release the zombie apocalypse. It's just a good time, and full of like a similar brand of horror and slapstick comedy.
Shaun of the Dead is one of these movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a rich vein, you know?
Yeah.
Good enough for Dracula.
Dad, what older movie should I watch? Just in general. Give me a cowboy movie.
Well, I've had one on mine for the last couple of weeks. Probably from going to the Y and doing the workouts and listening to the music. Footloose was a good one.
Oh.
Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen it, but it was a big changer. It was kind of like Dirty Dancing was. I mean, they're kind of like little movies that made a moment for people.
No, surprisingly, I haven't seen Footloose, although I have seen Happy Feet, which is Footloose with penguins.
Cowboys Silverado.
Yep.
So yeah, okay.
I would have put money. I should have Kalsha'd this.
Yeah.
That Dad would have said Silverado. That's the one with all the Kevins.
All the Kevins in it.
There's a lot of Kevins in that movie.
Yeah,
Or there's at least 2. I think there's 3.
But not a Bacon.
That's more than... Isn't Bacon in it?
Oh, I don't know. I've never seen Silverado.
Yeah, come on, watch Silverado. What are you doing? Have you heard of Silverado before this moment, Kevin?
Probably, but no,
Okay.
not off the top of my head.
All right, now that we are miscommunicating as much as Abbott and Costello were in this movie, yeah, if you liked this, we just did an episode with Gavin's dad on Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Check that out. Or even more pointedly, we have a Dracula episode. So your dad gets Dracula, my dad gets also secretly Dracula, because this is a Dracula movie.
Better than The Invisible Man, that's for sure.
And if you want to hear us talking about our dads without their presence, go check out a Goofy movie. I'll remaster that. Why not? The episode, but also the movie. It's good.
I got to tell you, be careful because your parents listen to your podcast. Because every now and then you get off on a train about when you were younger and how you related to your parents and stuff, and they finally get to glean some things out of what the hell happened back then.
I've got my notebook out. Do you have any notes for how I can embarrass you less or be less of a disappointment?
Yeah. Less of a disappointment?
I'm going to take that as...
Never had any expectations.
Never
Just
had
give you a good schooling and
expectations.
do what you can with it.
You're doing great. You are not a failure. Great. Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, Dan, thank
I
you
love
for
you.
joining
Bye.
us. It was,
Okay.
it was wonderful
Nice
to meet
meeting
you.
you, Gavin.
Yeah.
Again, you guys have met.
Or nice seeing you again. Sorry.
Well, now I can put a face to a voice.
You did last time when you met in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for hanging out with us again on Is This Still Good? You can find us at StillGoodPod on Instagram or send us a formal complaint to stillgoodpod@gmail.com. We love hearing from you.
Please give us a like or review wherever fine pods are casted. It helps us trick those algorithms.
You can find me across platforms at Hold for Playing.
And I'm at Gavin V. Murray. Join us next time, whenever that may be.
Bye.